Somehow my name got mentioned and the guy said, Dave Corso, and he described me down to the tattoos to Dunk and said that was the best Marine Corps sniper in Vietnam. And I have absolutely no knowledge of it. And he looks at me out of the blue and says, Daddy, what did you do in Vietnam? What did you really do? That's the night the nightmare started. And we were pinned down by extremely heavy fire. When this chopper lands and these 12 kids get out, look around, join hands, and there was this blinding flash.
And I remember this man here dragging me out of a burning helicopter.
I'd come in my house, close my blinds, close the drapes, lock the door, bring the dogs in, and get my guns out.
Oh, really? Okay.
And nothing ever happened.
All right.
No,
So-
I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because that's almost exactly what I would do.
This is David Lawrence Corso and Robert Duncan OFinioan. We have them together on camera for the first time. Your name, rank, and serial number. How's that? Do you have one?
I don't have one.
Oh, all right. Well.
Actually, I do.
Oh, well. How about you? No. No?
No.
No name, rank, okay.
Patriot, constitutional patriot and Bill of Rights.
And retired?
Retired from the telecommunications industry.
Okay. We're in Pahrump, Nevada, right? It's
In my
2000
humble home.
It's 2007, and we're very happy to be here.
I'm delighted that you're here.
And you own some
I admire
amazing...
your courage.
Thank you. And you own some amazing wolves, isn't that right?
Native American dogs.
Native American dogs. All right. Are you part Native American as well?
No, just adopted into the Apache tribe by a family friends.
Are you?
Yes.
Very nice. Okay, so what is your connection right off the bat with Duncan?
Let me go back 3 years. About 3 or maybe 4 years ago. A mutual friend introduced me when he said, I have friends I want you to meet. And I said, oh, really? So we met at the Nugget, and as soon as I saw John with Duncan, I knew them. And it was like an envelope had been opened in my mind, or a doorway, if you would. It took a while for those memories to resurface, and so I could figure out where I had saw them. In June of 1967. We were actually in Cambodia on a little operation to help get some American Special Forces troops out of a bad bind. And we were pinned down by extremely heavy fire. When this chopper lands and these 12 kids get out, look around, join hands, and there was this blinding flash. They got back in the chopper, and in the doorway of the chopper was a gentleman in a green uniform, like an army uniform, fatigues. And when we talked to the Special Forces team later, we asked, what did you see? And they said, all we saw was a blinding flash, and there had to be at least 2,000 or more Viet Cong and North Vietnamese regulars and Cambodian communists that were just simply dead. And that's the only thing I remember of it, is the blinding flash. But there was this little kid with a huge, white kid with a huge afro. And this little girl, very dark skinned, that was beside him. They got on a chopper and just flat disappeared. Well, some days later, I'm in Saigon, and there is this gentleman again from the aircraft. And he didn't introduce himself. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and he turned around and walked away. But he had an insignia that I had never seen before on his shoulder.
You were Special Forces?
I was in a group that didn't exist.
What were you called? Green Berets?
Black Operations.
Do they have a name for your division, or?
Black Operations.
That's it?
That's it.
Were you ranked in the military before you went into Black Operations?
Mm-hmm.
As what?
It
Are
would
you at
have
liberty to say?
Well, officially I was attached to the Navy, and my official Navy record isn't at all like what I was involved with.
Okay. What does your official Navy record say you were?
Oh, it says I'm a radar technician, and I went to B school, and I was on 5 ships, and I was on a swift boat detachment, and was in Vietnam for 14 campaigns.
Now, and what is the reality behind that?
I wish I could say for sure, but I have memories that are coming back that I can't explain. But Dunk's already talked to you about Project Talent.
Now, are you feeling that you were part of Project Talent from another angle?
I'll answer that in this manner. When my mother was 87 years old, I said, "Mother, I have these reoccurring memories of being with my uncle during the summers." She looked at me and had this mischievous grin on her face, and that's her up on the wall. She said, "You were never with your uncle in the summers. You were away, and you'll figure it out as you get older."
Is your family patriotic? You know, were they in the service?
My brothers served in the Marine Corps. Both brothers did. And I was assigned to the Marine Corps, but there's no official record of that.
You flashed back on this memory when you met Duncan, or after you met Duncan?
That memory has come back to me several times, but when my son was 9 years old, he and I went fishing for a month. And we were in the middle of Strawberry Lake fishing, and he's having a tremendously successful day fishing, and of course I'm not catching anything. And he looks at me out of the blue and says, "Daddy, what did you do in Vietnam? What did you really do?" That's the night the nightmare started.
Wow. And what kind of nightmares are we talking about?
I wish I could tell you, but I've talked to my VA counselors many times, and they said, "Be glad you don't remember them, because what you're doing is refighting battles."
Okay, but I'm assuming that what part of the nightmare was seeing the children in the field. Is this right?
That did not happen until Duncan and I were talking one time about when we remembered seeing each other. And we remember the same incident, literally word for word.
For me, that incident in itself was just like a nightmare. I remember getting off the chopper. I remember the other 11 kids. And I remember the blinding flash, and I remember getting back on the chopper. But before the chopper landed, after the chopper took off, I don't remember anything. In one particular memory that I have that is very vivid, I was in a chopper. I was a little older in this one, and we were shot down. I remember the chopper took off. We didn't get more than 10, 12 feet off the ground, and we took some kind of fire. I call it anti-aircraft fire, because to me, if I'm in an aircraft, I don't care if it's a 22 or a 90 millimeter howitzer. If you're shooting at me, it's anti-aircraft fire. And we went down. And I remember this man here dragging me out of a burning helicopter.
Were you in the helicopter at the time, or were you nearby?
That,
By
unfortunately, I
coincidence.
don't have a recollection of.
Okay.
I know he wasn't in the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only passenger in the helicopter.
Okay. You saw these kids in the field. You saw these people die. Do you know basically how many people you're talking about were killed?
I would have no idea.
Were there villages? I mean, was it a village like
No,
children,
it was not a village.
women?
It was in the jungle.
Okay.
And there
were
had
they
to
all
be.
men?
There could have been. We didn't bother to do a body count.
No, but I'm just generally speaking.
What we saw were men.
Uh-huh. Soldiers, I imagine.
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to call.
They were armed, in other words.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, just trying to get
With
the setting.
everybody's favorite weapon, the AK-47.
Yeah.
Except
All
a few
right.
that were carrying M16s and M14s.
Okay, so, and this was what year?
1967.
And you were there on a black operation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you have any other memory of that specific incident?
No.
That's it.
There are memories that are trying to surface that I either I'm intentionally blanking or they have been blanked extremely well. Because we know that the government can implant false memories and wipe out your memory and give you a whole complete life. Now, if that happened to me, I don't know. But my son and I have talked, we're talking about something entirely different, and all of a sudden I feel a light come on. But I can't get anything to illuminate with that light.
Have you attempted to be regressed?
No.
Are you worried about the impact on you of these unrecovered memories?
Bring it on, it's exciting.
Oh, really? So you're willing, you're willing to be regressed?
Would be very hard to hypnotize.
Okay, this is something you know about yourself.
Yes.
Would you be willing to try it?
Sure.
You would? Okay.
As long as it's here.
Here in Pahrump, Nevada,
Here
or
in
here
my
at your
house.
Uh-huh.
Why
is that?
This house is a sanctuary for me.
Okay.
I can relax here like I can relax no other place.
When you said you travel around the United States from time to time, do you have memories come back to you when you're traveling? Do you feel threatened when you're outside this area in some way?
What happens is I have severe post-traumatic stress disorder. And I take many precautions to make sure that I'm never in a place where I can be by myself, at night particularly. Or if I go somewhere, I meet somebody. But I always have to call when I get home so they make sure I got home.
Because what might happen?
If I get triggered and I don't have an anchor like Duncan or my son, I don't know what I would do.
Is this because of your memories of Vietnam or because of what you don't remember about Vietnam?
I think it's more because of what I don't remember. Duncan related an incident that he had in Lexington at the coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
He'll relate that later.
Okay.
That I have absolutely no memory of.
So do you have missing time in your everyday life?
Not that I've been able to notice. But I have noticed that if I'm working on a computer, time to me is meaningless, really. I've stayed up for days.
So you have good concentration abilities.
I can get absolutely waylaid on things, can't I?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You know, I'm going to tell you my impression. You sound like you're used to giving orders. Were you on a high rank when you were in the military?
Staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant. So that's not that high, right? In terms of military hierarchy.
No.
So I'm just wondering where that might have come from. Is this something you do? Because you said you work with computers. You build them and rebuild them?
Build and repair them.
Repair them. Did that come from the military, that training?
Some of it did.
Some of them. Were you were in black projects, so they were top secret, so you had access to information, but you don't remember the information?
None of it.
Is it like your memories have been wiped?
I would have to say that yes, they wiped memories. Otherwise, I can recall things happening back to when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
But
you can't recall.
There's a lot of time in the service I have to question where I was and what I was doing. And that's just serviced over the last, well, since my son was 9, he's 20, he'll be 36, say 25, 26 years. I've had to question, what did I really do?
Do you have any idea what you did?
Well, it would have to be that I wasn't a nice guy.
Okay. I'm getting that.
And I really don't know.
Okay.
But I had this very vivid memory of Dunk.
Okay.
And memories of seeing John in Saigon.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other memories that I've had corroborated where I was actually attached to a swift boat base. When the base got hit, I was the last person off the base, and I come off a pier, caught on the life rails, which are 2 feet above the deck, which is 2 feet above the water line. Caught that, slammed my knees into the transom, and they pulled me up on the boat, and I laid and cried for 2 hours. I have that memory.
Where was that?
Quignon,
Where's that?
Vietnam.
Oh.
Right in the center of the coast.
So you must have been pretty young at this time, right?
Yeah, that happened in 1967, so I'd have been 26.
So you came from a military family, is this right?
No, I came from a Sicilian family.
A Sicilian family. Okay. But your family was in the military?
My brothers were.
Not your father?
My father, no. My father owned a store, a garage, a bakery, 2 appliance stores.
So your mother said that you were going to remember some things, but that your memories that you had were not accurate, right?
That's correct.
But she didn't want to tell you anything else?
She just smiled. So
Did you quiz her?
When my mother gave you that smile, you didn't ask questions.
So what do you think happened? Do you have any idea? I mean, is your mother still alive?
Unfortunately, my mother died in 1993.
And you have a friend named John who I'm assuming was also in the military with you or with Duncan?
We're not. He had to be in the military, but we're not sure of who he was attached to.
Does he have memories? I mean, are his memories clear or not?
Actually, no, because he was asking me about some of the things, and I have vivid memories being maybe 13, 14, in a lab type setting, and John was in uniform, and there was a couple of other uniforms there as well, and he was basically trying to give me an order, and I had pushed one of the other kids out of the way and was up in his face. I mean, I was just all over him. And the other guys, the higher ranking people, were just eating it up. I mean, they were laughing their butts off. Because here's this little 13-year-old kid with an afro halfway down his back up in a military guy's face, just going to town on him. Like we talked earlier about putting a puzzle together, we all have different memories. Some of them are almost identical, and some aren't. And when we sit down and we start talking and we put them all together, then they start to make sense.
You guys act like you've known each other forever.
Yeah, I know.
We have.
How long have you been out of the military?
Since October 15th of 1968.
How long have you felt that you didn't have memories?
I wasn't aware of that really until my son
Asked you that question.
in 1980.
1980. So wow. So some time went by before you realized there was a gap there.
And then I never realized what PTSD was about, but looking at it now and with the research I've done into it and how it affects me personally, I can look at events that happened in my life, particularly after I got out, where it affected me so greatly that it affected my advancement in different companies.
How does it manifest?
What happens is, what had happened, I would come in my house, if I felt being triggered, I'd come in my house, close my blinds, close the drapes, lock the door, bring the dogs in, and get my guns out.
Oh, really? Okay.
And nothing ever happened.
All right.
No,
So-
I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because that's almost exactly what I would do.
Oh, really? So you have something similar?
Yeah, except I didn't have the animals, but I would go into a room, put a loaded pistol on my desk, and just sit in the dark and wait.
Wow.
And it's happened numerous times.
And what happens is at night I will have nightmares on more than one occasion. But with my animals, particularly with this young Native American dog named Herky, he puts his paws on the bed and licks my face. If he has to come around the other side of the bed, he'll do it. And because I know he's there as a safety for me, I can wake up and I say, okay, I'm awake. What was I doing? And sometimes I get up, there's no clothes on the bed. I mean, they're just gone. The pillows are gone. They're gone. Dogs are on the floor looking at me like, what did you do?
Do you feel like you have special skills that you didn't know you had the way Duncan does? Because I see that you collect swords. Do you know how to use them?
Yes.
Have you been trained to use them in your conscious recall?
No.
Really?
You can ask him.
That's identical. That's something that we all seem to share in common, is knowledge of bladed weapons. How to use swords, how to use knives, how to fight with them, defend against them. As a matter of fact, with the katana, Japanese sword, samurai sword, I've had, to my memory, my knowledge, no official training. Yet, when I go to a Kenjutsu dojo and work out with one of the instructors, the first thing they say is, how did you learn to combine two different styles of Kenjutsu? And I just like, I don't know. Here we go again.
You look pretty like you were strong. I'm going to tell you, just honestly, you're still strong. Okay, at this age, whatever age you happen to be.
66.
Okay, you appear to be a very strong man, and I'm just wondering if you were aware that you might have been unusually strong in your earlier life.
Fear will do that to you.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can tell you is fear will do that to you.
Uh-huh. Because you know how to defend yourself?
Yes.
Okay. You know how to defend yourself using swords, but you don't know how you learned it, right?
That's correct.
I assume you know how to use guns.
I have a passing familiarity with weapons.
Okay. I think you're a master of the understatement, as they say. I'm getting that.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not touching that.
Okay.
Want to see my paintball gun?
I'm not sure I want to see any of your guns, to tell you the truth. Where did you learn to use the guns? Do you have conscious recall of that from the military?
I recall my oldest brother, coming home from the Marine Corps with a .22 target rifle when I was about 6. And he taught me how to shoot. And I got pretty good with it.
How good?
Good enough that I'm still here.
Were you good at targets? You know what I'm saying? Is
It doesn't matter if the target is a target or a human being.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in combat, it's like you're up against a two-dimensional figure that can kill you. What you think takes an hour might have been 2 or 3 minutes. You become hyper alert. And I have recalls of firefights that went on, and I'm still here.
Were you trained as an officer?
No, not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. Do you know how to drive a boat? I don't know, or a ship, or, What's funny about that?
My father had boats. He had cabin cruisers. He had race boats. I was raised around boats.
Okay.
I was raised around all kinds of vehicles. There isn't too much I can't drive.
Okay.
I don't pilot a plane with a dam.
Okay.
I've
That's
never had a
interesting.
desire to pilot a plane or a helicopter.
Okay. You go to movies, right?
No.
Oh, you don't? You're like Duncan. You don't go to movies because
I don't
they
watch.
trigger...
I don't watch war movies. I don't watch adventure movies. Because that triggers.
What about underground bases? Do you have any feeling about that?
No, but I have heard from more than one source that you can go from the coast by Los Angeles almost to the middle of the country in a submarine.
You were in the military, but your skill is in the computer world.
No, I really didn't get. I got acquainted with computers when I was in the service. At that time, my forte happened to be electronics, electronic warfare, intelligence.
What's crossing your mind right now that you don't want to talk about?
Oh, nothing important.
Okay. Now, have you signed a secrecy oath of any kind, to your knowledge?
No, but I probably did.
Mm-hmm.
Do
you recall anything that's top secret that you're not saying? Or that you don't tell people?
Oh, the outside of I intercepted and identified a lot of signals as the platform when I was in the service. Electronic warfare was what I was really good at. I could hear a signal across the room and tell you what it was, and if I knew what part of the country it was in, I could probably tell you what platform it was on.
Interesting. What about psychotronic warfare?
It's a very real thing.
Do you think you were involved in that?
I almost would have had to have been. But do I have any memories of it? No.
But you think you're knowledgeable about it?
I'd say I was knowledgeable about it.
Oh, yes.
Okay. When you've heard Duncan's story, does it trigger something in you?
At times it will. What's interesting is we both have experienced psychic attacks. And I mean just vicious attacks, to where they will keep us up for days.
Are you psychic?
Where were you at 1:45 today? Where were you geographically at 1:45?
Pretty close by. We were getting here, weren't we?
How close were you to Shoshone?
We were in Shoshone at one point.
Yeah, you drilled it. Okay, you drilled it.
I said they're very close to they're in Shoshone. At 1:45, I walked out.
So you're saying, have you studied remote viewing?
No.
To your knowledge, have you studied it?
No.
And is it frustrating to you not to know what happened to you?
No.
It's not.
And let me tell you why it's not. I believe that those memories will be revealed when the proper time comes to me. Or if I dig enough. I keep myself busy with my dogs, my wolves, and computers. Mm-hmm. And I have good friends who know me. They don't always understand me, and that's not important to them.
You know, you have memories that you shared, but you don't know what they were. They were surrounded Vietnam and anything else besides Vietnam?
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas.
We had to go down to St. Thomas on business. And we're walking up through the marketplace, and there's an island off St. Thomas that we both knew.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were walking in the marketplace, this woman says, I looked at Duncan and said, I haven't seen you in many years, and I haven't seen you in about 20.
Wow. So that you were both recognized?
Yes, by more than one person.
Wow.
And that, we talked about it. And I had no conscious recollection of any of these people. And we looked at this island, and I said, on the other side of that is a training base.
Mm-hmm. And there was.
And there was.
What military occupies
We're not
that
sure.
area?
We're not sure.
Oh, really?
Honestly, I don't think it was standardized military.
No, it was. My best guess would be that there is a group within the military that engages totally in psychological warfare, warfare.
St. Thomas, you don't know what kind of military or black projects are going on there now.
No, but I have noticed that I've been in battlefields in many parts of the world. And I can walk across those battlefields and I can experience and hear in my mind what it was like. It was pointed out to me when a friend and I were walking Pickett's Charge at Gettysburg. And I looked at Len, and Leonard looked at me, and we were both crying because it was so... War is such a pitiful thing, caused by bankers to enrich companies and themselves. There's never been one logical reason for a war. Not one. And the war on terrorism to me is a farce. It's about controlling this country and setting it up for the New World Order.
You're an electronics expert. Do you think you're being watched or tapped into?
There's no doubt in my mind. And you know what? I really don't care.
Do you find yourself knowing things you didn't know you knew in terms of electronics?
Yeah.
I would like to understand all that I know.
Pulse went through that speaker.
Yep.
The TV just went on by itself.
No, pulse went through that side
A pulse
speaker.
went through. There's a psychic pulse was fired at this house.
Just now? Is that what that sound was?
Yeah, I wonder if you're recording anything.
You're convincing me that you go back a long way. What happened after that that would be an association between the two of you?
Let me let Dunk explain something to you. That he ran into a gentleman at a coffee shop in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
It was, trying to remember exactly where it was. I know it was Lex, but I can't remember. Sitting there, just having a cup of coffee. Guy comes up in a suit, sits down, and he looked at the tattoo, and he said, "Is that a military tattoo?" And I said, "No, that's my own little design, like I always say." And he said, "Well, I spent some time in the Navy." And I said, "What good? You ever hear of Dave Corso?" And he backs up and says, "Dave Corso. You know Dave Corso?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he kind of gets up and walks off.
Come on, you're psychic. What was your impression?
He was scared. The man was terrified.
He's not the only person who's come up to you or you've told that you met, because you started
No.
to tell another incident.
Right, and I am totally blanking on that one. And this happens from time to time. And I remember telling you about it. But from there, it's just totally blanking out.
What do you remember about it?
That somehow my name got mentioned and the guy said, "Dave Corso?" And he described me, down to the tattoos, to Dunk. And said that was the best Marine Corps sniper in Vietnam. And I have absolutely no knowledge of it. But another thing that's interesting about Pahrump, there's over 200 vets, Vietnam vets that live in the hills around here. In this valley, there are over 800 ex-Special Forces types.
So it attracts that.
It is the largest known contingency of any location where there's that many ex-Special Forces types.
Well, this has been a fantastically interesting exploration, and you know, you guys are really revealing a lot of trust to allow us to come into your house, you know, under these conditions and ask you these questions. And I just want to really thank you both.
Don't expect your life to become any easier.
Okay?
No.
Okay. Native American dogs, all right. Are you part Native American as well?
No, just adopted into the Apache tribe by a family friends.
Are you?
Yes.
Very nice. Okay, so what is your connection right off the bat with Duncan?
Let me go back 3 years. About 3 or maybe 4 years ago. A mutual friend introduced me when he said, "I have friends I want you to meet." And I said, "Oh, really?" So we met at the Nugget, and as soon as I saw John with Duncan, I knew them. And it was like an envelope had been opened in my mind, or a doorway, if you would. It took a while for those memories to resurface, and so I could figure out where I had saw them. In June of 1967. We were actually in Cambodia on a little operation to help get some American Special Forces troops out of a bad bind. And we were pinned down by extremely heavy fire. When this chopper lands and these 12 kids get out, look around, join hands, and there was this blinding flash. They got back in the chopper, and in the doorway of the chopper was a gentleman in a green uniform, like an army uniform, fatigues. And when we talked to the Special Forces team later, we asked, what did you see? And they said, all we saw was a blinding flash, and there had to be at least 2,000 or more Viet Cong and North Vietnamese regulars and Cambodian communists that were just simply dead. And that's the only thing I remember of it, is the blinding flash. But there was this little kid with a huge, white kid with a huge afro. And this little girl, very dark skinned, that was beside him. They got on a chopper and just flat disappeared. Well, some days later, I'm in Saigon, and there is this gentleman again from the aircraft. And he didn't introduce himself. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and he turned around and walked away. But he had an insignia that I had never seen before on his shoulder.
You were Special Forces?
I was in a group that didn't exist.
What were you called? Green Berets?
Black Operations.
Do they have a name for your division, or?
Black Operations.
That's it?
That's it.
Were you ranked in the military before you went into Black Operations?
Mm-hmm.
As what?
It
Are
would
you
have
at liberty to say?
Well, officially I was attached to the Navy, and my official Navy record, and nothing ever happened.
All right.
No,
So-
I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I'm laughing because that's almost exactly what I would do.
This is David Corso and Robert Duncan OFinioan. We have them together on camera for the first time. Your name, rank, and serial number. How's that? Do you have one?
I don't have one.
Oh, all right. Well.
Actually, I do.
Oh, well. How about you? No. No?
No.
No name, rank, okay.
Patriot, constitutional patriot and Bill of Rights.
And retired?
Retired from the telecommunications industry.
Okay. We're in Pahrump, Nevada, right?
In my humble home.
It's 2007, and we're very happy to be here.
I'm delighted that you're here.
And you own some
I admire
amazing...
your courage.
Thank you. And you own some amazing wolves, isn't that right?
Native American dogs. Somehow my name got mentioned, and the guy said, Dave Corso, and he described me down to the tattoos to Dunk, and said that was the best Marine Corps sniper in Vietnam. And I have absolutely no knowledge of it. Mm-hmm. And he looks at me out of the blue and says, Daddy, what did you do in Vietnam? What did you really do? That's the night the nightmare started. And we were pinned down by extremely heavy fire. When this chopper lands and these 12 kids get out, look around, join hands, and there was this blinding flash.
And I remember this man here dragging me out of a burning helicopter.
I'd come in my house, close my blinds, close the drapes, lock the door, bring the dogs in, and get my guns out.
Oh, really?